happy Thursday, everyone. Come on in, join us, have a seat, and rest your weary heads because we get to talk Avalanche hockey. Welcome to the Cluster Puck Podcast, part of the MHRT network. Here at Center Ice, I am Nick. Unfortunately, there's not going to be any Brit this week. She has some family due diligence that she has to attend to. So you get to deal with me, your second favorite podcast host on the Cluster Puck Podcast. But before we begin, don't forget to like and subscribe, follow the MHRT network so you can get notified when shows like the Cluster Puck Podcast go live. You can do so on the various social media platforms of your choosing. And if you want to follow us, we ask that you do so at the Cluster Puck Podcast on Facebook and at Cluster Puck Avs on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. Okay, so for those of you who just came over from the Avalanche game, unfortunately, the only second regulation loss handed to us from the New York Islanders with a score of 6-3. More on that in a second. But we have a lot of games to get through. Obviously, we didn't see you last week, given that it was Thanksgiving. So I'm going to just try and dive right in, try and recap this as best as I can before we go on to a couple of other talking points and then obviously the upcoming games for this week. So that being said, if I'm not mistaken, we left off at, boy, there's a lot that I can't remember where we left off. So I'll start here. From the Rangers some time ago, back November 20th. We'll start there. I'll try to just wire this as quickly and as efficiently as I can. So the Avalanche go ahead a couple of weeks ago, and they beat the New York Rangers at a score of 6-3. The game itself, from what I recall, was, I don't want to say in hand or anything to that extent. Obviously, the Rangers did end up scoring the first goal, and it wasn't until just before the end of the first period that the Avalanche actually got the tying goal. And from that point on, it was kind of just a back and forth, just about. Even into the third period, it was 3-3. But then I'd say second half, right, of that third period, Avalanche did finally put it together. Nathan MacKinnon gets that go-ahead goal, and then a couple of empty netters later to put it away. As far as the vibe itself, it was an okay game. It wasn't the prettiest. Obviously, it wasn't the most well played. Obviously, if you have to score 6 goals just to kind of win a game, could have done it with 4, but either way, I mean, wasn't the best game, but it was enough, right? Big factor in this one, obviously, besides Nathan MacKinnon getting 2 goals, Brock Nelson, and we'll get to him in just a second, but he started this movement, I guess, the self-movement of goals, which was really nice to see. So 6-3 are the Avalanche in that game. Then they start that little 2-game road trip against the Nashville Predators. So this game, I recall, I said if Justus Andernen was playing, that was going to be something to watch. Unfortunately, he did not. So there went my key to the game. However, in lovely fashion, 3-0 and a shutout is what we get. This game, I guess I do have some thoughts on this. This game did not feel like it should have gone this way. And I say that against the Avalanche favor, right? Hold on, before you start throwing rocks at me. It felt like the Avs should not have won the game, to be completely honest with you. It felt like Nashville's play was just better. It felt like the Avalanche were just kind of going through the motions. Mackenzie Blackwood did play excellent, obviously, with a shutout. So that was always nice. However, apart from Brett Burns getting a goal 16 seconds into the game, kind of off just a last second, chuck, I guess you could say, right from the blue line, it was kind of just this lackadaisical back and forth of, I don't want possession, no, you have it. No, I don't want possession, no, you have it. I'm not saying that Nashville played better, which, I mean, by all extents, they kind of did. However, it just kind of became that one goal early in the game, and then it just kind of was a game of who's going to just suck less, to be completely honest with you. And then 2 late empty netters puts it 3-0, but the game itself just kind of was, it left a bad taste in the mouth. But I shouldn't be complaining. Obviously, a win's a win. We're happy to see that. But there's just something about those types of wins where you're like, you kind of got lucky. If anything, if you're the Avalanche, you got pretty lucky, and you kind of have to take that, right? Because at some point, and the other shoe has to fall. And I'll talk about that in a second once I'm done with all these games. So 3-0, you got your first shutout, but that isn't your only shutout. No, sir. The very next day, you go to Chicago and you win that game 1-0, right? Again, Scott Wedgwood, flawless, right? Back-to-back shutouts from two different goalies. I'll take it, right? It's excellent. Everything about that is great. Let me be the first to say it is wonderful. But the gameplay itself did not reflect how the score went. To me, the gameplay for the Avalanche continued to just be very lackluster. It wasn't very good. In the extent of what I know the Avalanche can play. Okay. Now, obviously, I'm probably more harsh on people than others because I kind of have to sit, watch, analyze, and then bring stuff to you guys to talk about and mull over. So I am a little bit more critical, but at the same time, the the Avalanche have a certain game style, and the worry is, and that was my key to the game, is just win in any capacity, which they did. But I was kind of hoping it would be more of a, we go in, we kick them in the mouth, and we leave with a 5-1 win, right? So hard to say. Okay. The score 1-0. The game felt like it shouldn't have been. It should have been another Avalanche loss if you were to ask my opinion. However, like I said before, you take those, right? You're very lucky to come by a win like that, let alone a shutout. So you take it and you move on. So now you have two shutouts in a row, and everything is looking okay, right? You got the outcomes that you wanted. You still got 4 points. Oh, but wait a second. Third shutout in a row, and this one was much, much better. The day right before Thanksgiving, the San Jose Sharks come into town, and they leave town about as soon as they touch the ground in Denver. 6-0 was the final score there, and this game, Mackenzie Blackwood once again flawless. I believe he's in the history books with Darcy Kemper and a couple other goaltenders as far as back-to-back starts, back-to-back shutouts. This was the kind of game I was thinking they were going to play in Nashville, in Chicago. Obviously, San Jose, they are still, it's hard to even call them a bottom feeder team because at this current point in time, I believe they are holding a wild card spot. Hard to say that. However, this was a mini grudge match from what happened the first time. When in San Jose, they won in overtime. Avalanche, I'm guessing, took that to heart and just went at it. Ross Colton scoring 3 minutes in, Nathan McKinnon on the power play right before the period closes, and then 3 from, I don't want to say less who would have thunks, right? But just Sam Malinsky, Josh Manson, Joel Kiviranta, which welcome back, Joel, by the way, lovely addition. And then Arturi Lehkonen with kind of one with about 4 minutes left. Again, the game, in my opinion, was over by the first period, just based off of how the Sharks were just behind on everything. And that was something that I was even trying to relate to in the first game that they played. Back when San Jose was touted as being one of the bottom feeders, was the Avs had this thing of playing down to their competition. Not in this game, right? In this game, it was, in my opinion, as soon as that first period was finished, I thought to myself, I think we're going to be fine. I do not think San Jose gets 2 goals, let alone even 1, right? And that hurts to say because I like San Jose. They are a fun team to watch. Their young core is going to be so well put together, so cohesive. The chemistry is going to be through the roof. And for the next 10 years, you're going to have to watch out, okay? But 6-0, this was the kind of shutout that I was hoping for, and that's the kind of shutout that we got. So now you're going into Thanksgiving up 3 games, 3 shutouts to be specific, and everything's looking okay. Well, it is, or it was still until you go the day after Thanksgiving, Black Friday game, um, and you go to Minnesota to play the Wild. Now, this one was very weird, I guess is a way to put it. They lose this game in shootouts, 3-2. So the streak of still only having one regulation loss was still very much alive. But it took a lot for the Avs to do this. Now, we've known for a while that the Wild um, have always had this gritty, tough game about them. Not in the sense that they're like a dirty team. They always all they do is hit, but they are a very physical, move you off the puck type team. And it was this one had the playoff feel to it, though to a lesser extent. And what I mean by that was, again, the Avs could have played a much better game, but I have to credit the Wild's defense in this instance. They did a phenomenal job in stopping the Avalanche with a lot of chances, that they had. If I were to go to the team stats here, they both played very clean. They were 0 for 1, both of them on power plays. But just the defense itself was extremely good. 17 blocked shots, just from Minnesota alone, which again, not the highest number, but it felt like a lot of those opportunities were easy triggers, right? It's like, yeah, you should have taken that opportunity. You should have taken that shot. And for Minnesota to go in, kind of sacrifice the body, get right in the way, just, get rid of lanes for Natchez and McKinnon, Makar from the blue line, all that kind of stuff. They did a good job. So it wasn't until the third period, about halfway through, when Gabe Landeskog finally puts one into the back of the net, and that's kind of how the game goes into overtime. Surprisingly, nothing went in during overtime. And then in shootouts, again, shootouts are going to be such an interesting thing for the Avs because of who they pick. Not in the sense that who they pick is wrong, because obviously with Martin Natchez, he got a goal right away. That was great. McKinnon and then Makar, both of which, by all intents and purposes, should be your go-getters, your goal scorers. But for some reason that I've noticed in those few shootouts that we've had, they have not been the ones that I would have the most confidence in, which is very strange to say because Cale Makar has won multiple Norris trophies and a Conn Smythe. Nathan McKinnon is one of the greatest players in the world and a Hart winner, both of which have won a Stanley Cup, both of which are always going to be in this conversation of best player ever for this generation. But for some reason this season, I don't have that same confidence in, can I trust them in a shootout? Can I trust them in a breakaway? Sure, I'll trust them in a breakaway, but I can't in a shootout. I don't know how to portray that feeling, but I don't know. It was difficult to understand how that can happen, and let alone to Jesper Wallstedt, who also played a phenomenal game himself. Once again, credit to the Wild goaltender to play such a great game. But you still get a point. You still walk away with it relatively unscathed, and you move on to the next game, right? So you still at this point are 3-0-1. You're doing okay. Well, then you move to 4-0-1. The very next day, Montreal comes into town, and it's Montreal versus the Quebec Nordiques, as the Avalanche rock the throwback jerseys again. And in contrast to the Whalers game, the Avalanche blow their doors off of the Montreal Canadiens 7-2. So the touchdown is good. So is the extra point. However, hard to say that the game was going to be over, which ultimately it was. Okay. I had a small panic moment when, so Nelson scores, Landeskog scores, Burns scores, Nelson scores again, I should say, and then Ivan Demidov scores for the Canadiens to go 4-1. That little panic moment I had was similar to the one against New Jersey when we were up 5-0, and within 4 minutes it became 5-4. And then you had to scramble again. I had that panic for a grand total of 10 minutes. Okay. In the second period, until Nathan McKinnon gets that late period goal, you're up now 5-1. And then I kind of relaxed. And then I was like, okay, I think actually this time the game is out of hand. I truly thought so. Now, at that point, Taves gets a goal, his first of the season. Thank goodness. Lane Hudson's gets one right back, but at that point, Gabe Landeskog scores again on the power play not too shortly after that. And that's how it ends. 7-2. No bother with empty nets, no bother with taking out the goalie when the game's that far out of hand. So that's just kind of how it ends. Now, this one was interesting in that Brock Nelson, once again, like I said, 2 goals. I have been very impressed with this second line center of Brock Nelson. He has done a very good job. Landeskog also gets 2 goals in this game. And I want to talk about those two particularly once these games are done, because my first impression is our second line finally back, or is Landeskog finally top line material? We'll get to that in a second. But now you're 4-0-1 going into the month of December, and we have 2 games to play still until we finally catch up to present time. The Canucks come into town. This one was a difficult game, not in the sense that the Avs played bad or that the Canucks played bad, but this one had a very gritty feel in that there were some pretty hard hits that were laid in this game. And in this game, Scott Wedgwood left the game early. But the game felt like a playoff game. It had the score of a playoff game. But what I thought was really funny throughout this was that Kiefer Sherwood, that poor guy, just would get mowed over from everyone. Gabe Landeskog, and then McKinnon, and then Burns. Just he kept getting mowed over, which I kind of had to chuckle at, because he, being from, formerly on the Avs at one point, I couldn't help but get a chuckle out of that myself. But Carlson gets the goal scoring first. The other L. Carlson, I just lost his name. The other L. Carlson, with a very good pass and a very good deke for a goal. He went forehand to backhand, brought it around Wedgwood. That one was really nice. But then McKinnon, again, late period goals. That seemed to be a thing for these games. Within like the last minute, they always get these goals, which has been very nice, because I remember last season and even a couple seasons ago, giving up those late period goals was always a problem that the Avalanche had, that I could never understand why. It's like you just have to hold on for a minute and so you can keep momentum. Like I don't understand how you couldn't do that. But now they are the ones getting that momentum, which is always nice to have. And then 2 goals in the second period, one from Brock Nelson again for his 9th of the season, and then one from Nathan McKinnon for his 22nd of the season. And that's kind of how it ends. This game, there were a lot of opportunities. Blackwood did stand tall when he came in for the injured Scott Wedgwood, and he stood tall in that third period. He did an excellent job, right? Being in position, getting those key blocks. There were a couple of breakaways that he stopped, which I was really worried about, but he did a very good job. He did a very good job. And then at that point, it was just the matter of trying to, I think it was for the last 4 or 5 minutes, they pulled an empty netter, and the Avalanche just couldn't catch the right breaks. They if they got the puck, they couldn't clear it. They did everything they could to claw tooth and nail to keep Vancouver from even scoring 1 goal. And it was great. The defense held up for that 4 or 5 minutes, and that's how the final score ends up, 3-1. It was a very good win. It was a proving win, in my opinion, in that, not necessarily because Vancouver is one of these bar benchmark games, but in that you need to prove that you can outlast with your defense in certain games. Obviously, that's not what you want to do. You want to try and get it, shoot it all the way back down, maybe get that empty netter. But in that chance that you don't have that light at the end of the tunnel, that opportunity to do so, this was that kind of game where the defense in those last 5 minutes was one of the more impressive things, being down a guy. I don't believe there was a power play opportunity given late. I thought there was. Maybe that was on another game. But they did a very good job in not allowing a single goal to be scored, despite the fact that there were a lot of scares that happened in that last 5 minutes. So, Avalanche 3-1, and now you still have this continued winning streak. You're 5-0-1 in those 6 games, which is excellent. Now that brings me to this game, and unfortunately, I named this episode before tonight's game for those of you watching live. But that does not take away from the fact that we are still very much a winning team, so we relax. I'll just have to kind of tweak what I meant when I put this title in, as far as, yep, we're still winning. So the Islanders, the Avalanche go to Long Island and lose to the Islanders with a score of 6-3. The hard part about this was that the Islanders got off to a very good start. They got that first goal. It was reviewed and then scored again with the same player. Or no, excuse me. Yes. 1-0 is, I guess, what I'm trying to say. And then late in this first period, for those of you who just watched, Anders Lee gets his 6th of the season. They're up 2-0. It's at the point where you're like, okay, that's fine. The Avalanche can come back from this, right? There really shouldn't be much to worry about. The Avs have come back from worse before, and you're thinking just a good second period and even better third period, which the Avs have been okay with, but second periods have kind of been their bread and butter for the last few weeks. Well, no, not in this game, unfortunately. Bo Horvat, excuse me, Adam Pelech, both get goals, and then all of a sudden the score is 4-0, and my thought goes to, oh no, because I was hoping, for those of you who I'm assuming kind of share the same sentiment, if you follow the Avs as much as I do, I'm hoping that they get to that 20th win before they get to that second regulation loss. But being down 4-0, that made it very difficult to see that happening. Well, within a couple of minutes of each other, Val Nichushkin and Marty Necas both get goals, and it's 4-2. And you're like, okay, we can come back from this again. Everything should be okay. And then again, in the dying minute and 15 seconds, somewhere around there, Matt Barzal scores on the power play. Really good goal from him, unfortunately. And you're down 3 going into this third period, which, again, not the most insurmountable of tasks, but it really felt like that second regulation loss was coming faster than a 20th win for the Avs. Lehkonen, early, Arturi Lehkonen gets that goal, that third goal, to put them back down to within 2. And I was listening to Moj and Rycroft, and they were saying all you need to do, they had a couple of power play opportunities which got squandered. All you had to do is get that one and then see if pulling the goaltender early to tie the game would be the move to at least force overtime. Unfortunately, though, squandering opportunities left and right, the Islanders really held down and clamped down on defense. They did a very good job as far as shutting it down. And Casey Cizikas, with his 2nd of the season, gets the empty netter, puts the game away, and that's how it ends, with a score of 6-3. Now we are brought up to speed. Let me talk about a couple things, like I said back in the previous games. Gabe Landeskog, okay? If I were to go to the team stats right now, Gabe Landeskog currently has 5 goals, 9 assists for 14 points. Okay, I want to talk about him first, then we'll talk about Brock Nelson in a second. I have been very happy with what's been going on with Landeskog. He's on that first power play unit now. He's been shifting around lines, right? Most of the time being on the second, sometimes the first now. The question that I pose to you, the viewers, as well, if you want to comment, let me know your thoughts, or DM us after the episode. That's fine too. Where do you see Landeskog as far as coming back? Keep in mind, coming back from a 3-year hiatus of not playing hockey, and he already has 14 points. I say already for him specifically because I'm letting that benefit of the doubt of not playing in 3 years still loom large over this situation. 5 goals, 9 assists. He should have, I think, at this point, with how many he's been had called off, I think he should be at like 10, to be honest with you. He's been playing, in my opinion, very well, and it shows. The team has that cohesion now. The team has that chemistry, that togetherness. The locker room feels complete. Everything feels Players are playing extremely well when he's out there. He's gotten in scrums. He's taken hits that even I was like, yeah. But he's doing it because for the love of the team, for the love of the game, right? So, in my opinion, I think Gabe Landeskog is doing a very good job getting goals every so often. He's not streaky. He's just keeping a constant, an assist here and a goal the next game, and then an assist there, another goal. So he's doing a pretty good job of keeping up with pace as of late. That I think he's going to be on task, or I should say on track, for a 10-plus goal season. Obviously, I'm maybe even closer to 20, and somewhere in the ballpark of, gosh, what would I even think? 30 assists. So he could be a 40, close to 50-point guy for coming back after 3 years. I'll take that. That would make me extremely happy. Just to see him back, just that he's that lucky to come back, that's amazing. Okay, that is incredible. The next guy I want to talk about is Brock Nelson. 9 goals, 8 assists for 17 points. And in the last couple of weeks, he has been scoring surprising amounts of goals. Okay. In that, 2 things, one of which is a worry, the other which is a hope. The worry is that this is a streak. Okay. He's not scoring every game, right, in those last couple of weeks, but he has been scoring often enough to still consider it a streak. Okay. Still getting some assists, still getting some points. It took him a long time to finally get to this level of play that he's been playing at. But my hope with this is that we have finally put the 2C question to bed after 3 years, 4 years, how many? 3 years of not having a bona fide 2C, one that we can, trust in. Newhook didn't work, Middlestat didn't work. The list goes on and on and on. I think I have the confidence to finally say I think Brock Nelson is that 2C that we were hoping that we were going to get some time ago. And it shows. What I mean by that is you look at the Stanley Cup run season. Nazem Kadri, granted it was a contract year, but he played great, right? He wasn't a goal per game type guy, obviously. He wasn't even a point per game type guy. But he scored often enough that he was up there with the McKinnons and Makars of the season, right? Brock Nelson currently sits 5th on scorers for this season, sitting behind McKinnon, obviously, Necas, Makar, and Lehkonen, which that's kind of to be expected. So for Brock Nelson to be sitting right up there, getting close to 20 points, that's what you want to see. Okay, he could be that guy where now quarter of the way through the season could be that 30 goal scorer on the second line, which is great for the depth, which is great for the team chemistry, which will be great in the playoffs, and everything still should be okay. So I'm hoping that he continues this point streak that he's going on, or I should say at least this goal scoring momentum that he's going on, and hope that it kind of lasts through the season because he's posting up very well. His positioning is very good. He understands the system now. Starting the season with the team, all that kind of stuff. Now with Val Nichushkin coming back, that's feeding into that. And everything I think for the 2C, and I would even venture to say the second line as a whole, I think is going to gel okay. I think it's going to be okay. The only thing I'm hoping to see more of are those now bottom 6. Okay. Because you have to look at who has been scoring goals, and it has been those top 2 lines. Obviously with Ross Colton, people like that, Logan O'Connor coming back soon. That's going to be you guys have to step it up now, because obviously McKinnon's going to be scoring goals. Necas is going to be scoring goals. Makar, Lehkonen, Nelson, the list goes on and on as far as your top pairing / top lines. But it's your bottom 6 and your more bottom lines, or bottom pairings, I should say, that you need to kind of pick that up. I'm not going to emphasize that mostly on the defense, because obviously defense has a bit different of a role, different approach to how the game gets played for them. but the bottom six, particularly for the forwards, those are the ones that I would like to see kind of pick that up, right? Parker Kelly, Jack Drury, not to say that they've been bad. They haven't made many, costly mistakes or anything like that. They've been okay, but they have, I know they can be better. And I'm wondering if Logan O'Connor, when he comes back, kind of feeds into that. And that's the hope. So that being said, that is going to be it for the previous games, the topics that I wanted to talk about. Excuse me. So I'm going to go ahead and move forward with the next few games for the Avs, and give some keys to the game as well, just so we can keep this episode rather short for you friends. And I guess, have a couple of things. I guess I also have the hockey hit of the week that I wanted to talk about, as well as some potentials toward the end of the season. So the next game that the Avalanche have is on Saturday, December 6th, 10:30 a.m. Mountain Time puck drop. So for those of you who are late risers, it's literally get out, stay in your pajamas, go to the couch, and watch the game against the New York Rangers. So for me personally, we got a husband-wife rivalry going on at Madison Square Garden. This one, I don't know if it's going to be like the other Rangers game, to be completely honest with you. The Rangers, I don't want to say have finally turned things around fully, so to speak. They have won at least their 2 games in December. They have started to figure out winning at home again. But I'm not going to say that this game is going to be difficult, so to speak. It could be. Okay. In that, my key to the game is going to be this. You've been on the road a couple of times now. You just got the doors blown off of you by the Islanders. It's that momentum. That's my key to the game, is what team is following that up against the Rangers on Saturday morning. Okay. Wedgwood obviously is not going to be there, so you're going to have more than likely Mackenzie Blackwood playing net, who has been fine. He's been fine. Obviously, this game wasn't his best. It was a dud. Is it going to be everything turns back around and you're right back onto the winning ways? Or does regulation loss number 3 happen before win number 20? That's the momentum. Okay. And a lot of people don't understand this. For those of you who are new, momentum is a huge thing in hockey. I cannot begin to describe how big and palpable momentum can be in a game. You can see shifts and swings of momentum easily. Okay. It's incredible. It doesn't just go minute to minute, period to period. It can go between game to game with days in between. We see it happen all the time. Losing streaks, winning streaks, momentum. That is all carrying momentum, in my opinion. And so that's going to be this key to the game, is stopping that momentum that you just had, which made you lose. You weren't playing your best. The Islanders were doing a very good job. You were extra passing. You were looking for the perfect thing. None of that. This is a new game, new momentum, new shifts, everything to that extent. So that's my key to the game for the New York Islanders, is to take a new swing of momentum, and in traditional Avalanche fashion for this season is to score early, score often, heck, even get those goals within the last minute of the period so that momentum swings from period to period, and keep your foot on the gas. Once again, the NHL has this parity where if you take your foot off the gas, teams can be let in. Okay, we were almost victim of that several times. I think back to what I mentioned before earlier in this episode. Was 5-0 against the Devils, became 5-4 to the Devils in 4 minutes. Okay, things can happen very quickly. Thus, you need to keep your foot on the gas. That is my key to the game for the Avalanche against the New York Rangers, is to get a better swing of momentum from the last game and to hold on to it for the entire 60 minutes. Okay, that's the first game of a, guess what? back-to-back. We've had a lot of those in the last month. But in this case, they are going down just the ways to the Philadelphia Flyers, where they go to Wells Fargo Arena and play the Flyers. Again, another early one, 11 a.m. Mountain Time puck drop. This one nationally broadcast on NHL Network. The Flyers have a similar-ish situation to the Rangers, right? Flyers going right now 15-8-3. So they're doing okay, right? They're actually in an all right spot. If I were to go to the standings, actually, let me see where the Flyers currently stand. They are in the first wild card spot in the East. Okay, so they're not any team to roll over and laugh at. However, my this Flyers team is strange in that, from what I've seen at least this season, goaltending has either been very, very good or very, very bad. Okay. That goes in tandem with the defense that's in front of them, not the offense, not the forwards, but the defensive pairings. The goalie plays good when that defense plays good, and the goalies don't play as well when the defense doesn't play as well. So it's going to be the question of getting the defense of the Flyers off of their rocker, so to speak. Just not in stride with each other, not, break team chemistry, whatever it is you have to do, but pick apart the defense, the pairings, particularly. That's going to be my key to the game as far as this game against the Flyers. I want to see the Avalanche. I don't want to say meticulously and piece by piece or something to that. I don't necessarily care how, but it's against their defense that I'm extremely interested to see how they are able to work around that. And in theory, you should be able to skate away with a solid win. I don't think it's going to be as necessarily easy. This is probably going to be maybe another 3-1 type game, 4-2 type game, something to that extent. But in theory, you should be okay. You should be fine. This game, one of these two games, Trent Miner is going to sit in, so he is going to have to be a very, very key component as well. But given the fact that the Avs defense, at least the defense themselves, as of late, minus the Islanders game, have been very good, I think that should give Trent Miner a big confidence boost, right? As far as playing in front of a team that he's played already a couple of games, one of which was against New Jersey, which went to overtime. So that's already something that he can keep in his back pocket. He should be able to play fine. So if it's against the Rangers, if it's against the Flyers, one of those two obviously are going to be for him. As long as he's just solid, right? Like I said, my allowance, for those of you who don't know or maybe first-time watchers, my allowance for goals allowed in a game is 3, 1 per period. Okay, because if you think about it, 30 shots on goal is kind of the benchmark-ish. So that's 90%, right? You let in 3 off of 30, 90%. That's okay to me. Okay, anything more, and it becomes a bad game, in my opinion. So, key to the game for the Flyers, like I said, is to string apart the defense of the Flyers. Again, go out and play 60 minutes, play with urgency, shoot the puck, take advantage of power plays, and you should be okay. Next game, and I believe this is the last one we'll talk about. Yes, we'll talk about this one last, and we'll go to keys of the game, as well as a couple of additional questions that I wanted to throw out to you, the audience. So, last game we're going to talk about is against the Nashville Predators, who still currently have a losing record, though it's not the worst record at 10-13-4. This game, TNT, 7:30 Mountain Time puck drop, and that's going to be on Tuesday, December 9th, in Nashville. I don't want to necessarily say there's a key to the game. For me, I want to see the game that should have happened for the Avalanche's favor, obviously. Obviously want the Avalanche to win. But the game that should have happened in Nashville a couple of weeks ago, I want to see that game on Tuesday. Okay, that should be your 4-0. Your in fashion to that, especially if the Avalanche are going to come back to this winning streak. I don't think a losing streak is going to necessarily be in the cards per se. But if this is going to be one of those potential trapped games if you don't have everything together. Now, like I said, my key to the game is to go and make that game that you should have had earlier, and then you'll be okay. You have a great confidence boost once you play the Panthers the next game at home. Former or previous Stanley Cup champion, everything to that extent. It'll be a nice, good game there. But you got to get over this hurdle first. And for some reason, playing in Nashville, playing in Chicago, playing in Boston, like all these places seem to be very difficult for the Avalanche until playoff time, obviously. And so I just need that peace of mind in this game. So similar to what I said with Chicago in the last episode, I'm going to say that for Nashville in this episode. Win the game, but win it by your play, not the fact that the score got you there, so to speak, but you played like the score, like that 4-0, like that 5-1 goal, that score that I'm trying to manifest, to be completely honest with you. And that should be the real, I guess, winner, is if you're playing like your score, then you have that momentum, then you have that positivity, then you have that I guess bulldoze mentality to then go and start another win streak, or to at least take games at the very least to overtime plus, and things to that extent. So that being said, those are the games I wanted to talk about for this upcoming week. If you guys have any thoughts on how you want these games to go, keys to the game that you guys may think could or should happen for you guys, feel free to drop a comment in this video, or comment below once this video is over. Send us a DM, however you want to get there, and let us know. I think that would be just as great. Okay, last thing that we need to get to before I just throw out some questions. Okay, I'm just going to throw them out. I'm not going to answer them myself. I'm just going to throw them out. But the hockey hits of the week. Unfortunately, I was not able to get Brit's. So you'll just have mine tonight. And I had, let's take a look. Yeah, I like this one. So Earth, Wind, and Fire's Boogie Wonderland is my hockey hit of the week this week. Vibes were great, right? Obviously, this last game, the one that you just got back from watching at the time of this recording, not the one that you want to. That kind of kills the boogie mood, so to speak. But to go out and to just win these games at a 90%, around a 90% clip from the last month, yeah, that gives me a case of boogie fever, right? And so it gets me dancing, it gets the hips moving, it gets the fingers pointing and everything. Boogie Wonderland, Earth, Wind, and Fire. That is the hockey hit of the week. Okay, I have two questions that I want to pose to you, the audience. Again, feel free to comment below. Feel free to reach out and DM us, internalize it, scream at the computer screen. I don't care. However you wish to try and answer these questions or think about them, I have this to pose to you. Question 1. Based off of the fact that we have now only lost 2 regulation games through the first quarter plus of the season, do you, my fellow Avalanche / hockey fans, if you're coming from a different fan base, do you believe the Avalanche already will be President's Trophy winners? Okay, curse aside, I know hockey is a very superstitious sport. Do you believe that the Avalanche, based off of this record, have the President's Trophy in the bag? Okay, it is a very bold question. It could be met with a very bold answer. So that's question 1. Question 2 is, when Logan O'Connor comes back, does the third line suddenly get a surge of points production? Okay, he'll be back here, I think, a couple weeks, I think is going to be it. I want to pose this question early, just because I know there's going to be some talking points again in the next couple of episodes, but I want to get this out to you Avalanche fans, as well as those that are just hockey fans that also want to chime in. with Logan O'Connor coming back, with that penalty kill that he's so well known for, with that speed, with the ability to dish, with the ability to be in the right spots, all that kind of stuff. We've been missing that for this season. Obviously, the record doesn't necessarily say we've been missing it, but let's be real, we have. With him coming back, does the third line finally take off? And I'm going to say the third line consists of Ross Colton, Joel Kiviranta, and Logan O'Connor. We'll put it that way. Or maybe someone else, right? Let me know. Again, comments below, DM us. Those are the two questions that I'm going to pose to you guys. Feel free to answer them. Feel free to let us know. Hockey hits. If you have your own suggestions for how you think the last couple of weeks have gone, again, shoot them over our way. Love to hear it from you guys. But I think that's probably going to run us all the way to the end of this episode. So thank you once again, everyone, for joining us on this episode of the Cluster Puck Podcast, part of the MHRT Network. Again, if you like what you saw, don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow the MHRT Network so you can get notified when shows like the Cluster Puck Podcast go live. You can do so on the various social media platforms of your choosing. And if you want to follow us, we ask that you do so at the Cluster Puck Podcast on Facebook and at Cluster Puck Avs on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. With that being said, we have 3 upcoming games, 2 of which are matinees. Hold your breath for those because we know how the Avalanche get with those. And then 1 against your division rival, a good 4-point swing. So hopefully by this time next week, we have a good 6 points in the bag, 3-0. We'll just have to see what happens. Have a great week, everyone. A great weekend. And as always, go Avs go.
Fast lane when I pass in the street. Bag of money in the passenger seat. Tempo's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flame out. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my